Oh, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Nice. Did you get the kiddos to bed?
I did. Now I just fed my husband, so now I'm just hanging out.
Nice. You got them to bed early. That's pretty good. That's impressive.
Oh, my kids go to bed at 7:00 every night. They're 7 to 7, but with it being daylight savings, I figured 8. Because the time change is all messed up and everything.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Of course.
So a little about me. So I am finishing my doctorate in counseling psychology up at UNC, the University of Northern Colorado. And this is a part of my dissertation. And so I don't know if you know much about dissertations, but it's basically a big, long study we have to do.
Yes.
Yep. And so so I thought, since I'm actually at my postdoc residency next year is at the Salt Lake VA, and I'm going to be working and I'm going to be working with veterans and their families. So I thought this is a really great thing to do and to hear about some of their spouses.
Yes, and you'll get a lot of different experiences depending on people's jobs, where they went. There's so many different factors that will give you so many different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been something that's been really helpful too. And so basically how this is going to go is, like you saw on the consent form, I audio record the interviews, and what I will do is basically once I'm finished completing all my interviews, I basically put the data together and look at themes from different interviews. Okay. And I will not say your name anywhere. It won't say any identifying information. And so if you tell me a story or something that's personal, it won't. Any identifying information will be taken out, and then I will actually send some of the results to you and let you kind of look them over once I'm finished with it, probably in the next 6 months. I hope it's in the next 6 months.
Okay.
So
give me 1 second. Hey, while I do this interview, I'm just going to go downstairs and fold laundry, okay? And I'll be right back up. Okay, sorry. Hey, what are you watching? Are you watching something about me? Oh, okay, that's fine. Sorry, I was making sure he wasn't watching one of our shows.
Oh, you mean grown-up shows?
Yes. That's why we put our kids to bed so early.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have kids, but I've nannied, and so I definitely know I can feel the stress of that and trying to protect them from that.
And I had 3 in 3 years, so mine are 4, 5, 4, and almost 3.
Oh my gosh, you have your hands full.
Yes, very full, very full.
Yeah, I nannied for a family that had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn, so I can relate in that sense. But I also got to give them to their mom at the end of the day and go home. So
that's why we put them to bed as early as we do, so that way we can kind of decompress at the end of the day. But so are you just going to be asking me questions like on the recording and then? Okay.
Yep. So
gotcha.
so we can get started. So basically, it's kind of a lot of it's really open ended, but I basically want to hear like the story of your relationship, and then I'm going to ask you more questions about different strengths, how you've overcome different challenges, and some of the deployment stuff. So I guess we can just start there. So if you want to tell me the story of your relationship with your husband.
Okay. So we were both in the military, and we had got to Fort Hood, Texas on the same day, and we just, it was nice because we could talk about work, so we would, get together after work and go for a drink and just kind of hang out, and it just kind of went from there, and we were actually only together for 2 months before we got married, and we've now been married for over 6 years.
So you just pretty much knew right away that it was the one.
Yes. We had both. I had come back from Korea. He had come back from Germany. I had been in college for a few years, so we had both kind of done our own thing, and we just kind of knew that we were both ready.
Nice. And so, so how long were you married before you got deployed, or before you guys were separated?
Well, he's an 11 Bravo, which is an infantryman, so he has gone a lot. So even though his first deployment wasn't until we were married for 2 years, he was gone for 4 to 7 weeks at a time, constantly. Wow. So he would be gone for 2 weeks. He'd come home for a week. He'd go for 4 weeks. So right from the beginning, I was thrown into him never being home. So by the time a deployment came around, I was kind of, obviously it was a different, what's the word for it? It was just a different feel because he was still in the same time zone, but we couldn't talk. But there was just something comforting knowing that like he was still right down the road. He was right there. He was relatively safe. So that way, by the time a deployment did come along, about 2 years later, I had already gotten the feel for being alone. And then that was kind of out of the way. And then I just kind of had to deal with like the scarier aspect of it. So I was just thrown into him being gone from the beginning.
Yeah, so that part you're used to, but you said the scarier aspect of it. What do you mean by that?
Well, not necessarily. Well, I mean, there was a lot of aspects of the deployment that was hard. The time zone, the time difference was hard.
Yeah.
We then had children. We then had children, which was hard. So not only for our relationship, but also me at home, I was dealing with, where's Daddy? Why is Daddy not home? Because by the time he left, my daughter was old enough to recognize that, she was used to him kind of coming and going, but he wasn't coming home for a while. So I was not only dealing with the relationship aspect of my husband's on the other side of the world. His job is a little bit scary because, I mean, when they go to Afghanistan, they're obviously in a scary place. So them being gone wasn't necessarily the issue. It was more just getting used to the time change. And also, when they're gone for 4 weeks, that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas when they're gone for 9 months, that's your new reality. That is like your new life for almost a year. So there's a big difference between adjusting to them being gone for 2 weeks and then being gone for almost a year. It's a completely different feel.
Yeah, well, and being gone for almost a year, and you're saying like it's scary because he's kind of on the front lines, or is he like what kind of were the parts that were scary about him being gone for so long?
Well, with him being on the front lines, there's, it's not like when I was in, if I were to have been deployed, I would just kind of be hanging out on the base and doing things to support basically what he does. So, as soon as you turn on the news and you see something bad that happens over there, and there were times where I wouldn't hear from him for 4 days at a time. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. So I just kind of had to tell myself that no news was good news. And you just kind of get not used to it, but I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of not numb to it, but I'm just so used to it that I don't even necessarily know the words for it. It's reality. Just kind of scary. Well, and it's also, and I mean, there's other ways in which it's scary as well. It's scary because they leave you for 9 months at a time, and so much changes on both ends that it's like when they, on the other end of it. So yeah, it's scary when they're gone, but like in my opinion, one of the scariest parts of it is when they come home.
Yeah.
Because
so tell me more about that. So what was it like after he returned from deployment?
Well, at first, obviously you're so nervous and you're, what if I don't like you anymore? What if you change too much? Blah, blah, blah. But honestly, the first week, my best friend's husband just came home too, and this is what I told her. The first week is amazing. It feels like nothing ever changed. But then you realize that it feels normal to have them back in your lives again, but like it's not normal for what you did for the past 9 months. You have your own routine. You have your own life. You have your own schedule. And when everyone thinks of people come back from deployment, they think, that, at least in my opinion, people think that you're going to deal with like every time something loud happens in the house, they're going to freak out and, all this other stuff. And really, you just get in each other's way and you just annoy the hell out of each other because you're not used to you're just not used to it. My kids, I had a routine down. I got up in the morning. I was in school too, so I would get up in the morning. I'd feed the kids. I'd go to school. I'd come home. So I had my routine. And then when they come home, they kind of ruin your routine. But also, they're trying to adjust to their new normal as well. Because even though they've been away from us for 9 months, they've also been away for their normal jobs. So it's